Okay.
Okay, this is the Christmas special. Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to Grandma's Kitchen. Here we are at Grandma's house. This is Christmas Day for you guys, and we thought we'd bring you a Christmas recipe. So how long have you been making this recipe?
Well, my mother used to make it, and there were 3 girls. She had 3 girls, and we'd all do something. One would have to pit, and one would put in the walnut, and one would put in the frosting. And that worked out really good, and everything was great. There were no men involved. However, when I did them, I had 2 sons, and they put enough frosting on you couldn't even find the walnut. But that's okay. Boys are like that.
That's right. So I guess we should tell you what we're making. We'll be gluten-free, of course. What did you call these?
Filled date nuts, I think.
Filled date nuts.
Yeah, something like that.
So all it is just that. It's dates and walnuts and then frosting. And these dates that I've got here, they're already pitted and then they are sliced already. I just need to find the sliced part here. And then all you do is put frosting in the middle. I'm going to get a knife. They're kind of sliced, but maybe not all the way through. So there's one that we've split open. And this is something that you had as a little girl.
Yes. Mama made that always, and for Christmas Eve that would kind of be a treat around the Christmas story or whatever. We'd have that, and then a little something to drink.
So what else would you do for the holidays at your house?
Well, we always had the Christmas story, and then we always went to church. We went to church before we had Christmas. I know nowadays sometimes the kids like to have their Christmas first, but we went to church first, and of course the choir sang and the stories. It was a beautiful morning, and then we would go home and have open our gifts and have Christmas. But that's the way we did it when I was little. And then when I was raising my children, we went to church first too. And I'm glad, because that is the reason for the season, is Jesus Christ.
So what kind of frosting did you have?
Well, Mama made this, and me, we just made a buttercream frosting. And my kids really liked them. They just take one and pop it right in, and away it went.
They're really good. And you know, I think dates are kind of making a comeback. But for a long time, people didn't use dates.
Yeah.
And a lot of people never even heard of dates.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I think they're delicious.
Yeah, they're very good. You know, when you try to eat right between the dates and the nuts, that kind of offsets the sugary frosting. Makes you feel like you're eating healthy.
That's right. Well, my frosting today is vanilla cream cheese buttercream.
Oh boy, and I know it's healthy.
It is. It's made with honey. I've got my frosting. It's been in the freezer. And this is the same recipe as my pumpkin whoopie pies, buttercream. And so I had a little bit extra. So I've had it in the freezer in this bag. And I'm just going to cut off one end. And then I can kind of pipe it into the dates. And then I've got this little decorative dish here that was yours.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
Yes, it was 3 divisions.
Yep, it is. And I thought that would be nice. I'm trying to keep those open. And some of these dates kind of split all the way in half.
But I noticed that Jill is putting the frosting in first. We used to put the nut in first.
You did?
And then we put the frosting on top of the nut.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
but all together you still get the whole thing all together.
Here, look, I'm gonna put those in there. You know, I feel like in years past we've always put the frosting on and then put the nut on top. I didn't realize we did the nut first.
Yeah, we did the nut first. And then that's when Tom and Donnie wanted to do the frosting. And they put so much on you couldn't hardly see the nut.
That's funny. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
And you know, my frosting is really soft, so it's gonna be kind of a mess there. But that's all right.
Well, that's a tasty, good-looking mess as far as I'm concerned.
I think so too.
Well, Christmas is a wonderful time. Christmas when I was a little girl was a lot different. I would get a new pair of gloves or a new pair of anklets or something like that. We weren't necessarily so poor, but it's just that it wasn't as affluent as it is now. We always got one new game that was for the whole family.
What kind of games did you get?
We used to get board games, Monopoly and games like that, checkers and Chinese checkers. And then we had a tree in the center of the square, and we'd go and sing on Christmas Eve. Everybody in the ward would just go and just sing Christmas carols. We didn't really have a lot of backup, probably somebody with a harmonica or something. But it was fun, but it was cold. See, I was raised in Chicago. It was very cold. 0 degrees was the usual. So, those look really good, honey.
They do look good.
Christmas, we always wanted a white Christmas, and we always did have it because a lot of snow. And then we moved to California for a couple of years, and it never seemed like Christmas to me. Everybody running around in shorts and a tank top, which is fine, but not in December. And it just never seemed like Christmas. Those look good enough to eat.
They do. Did you guys have stockings when you were a little girl?
Oh, yes. We put up our own stockings. And then, you know, after a while, they start manufacturing really darling ones. And your mother made stockings for all the grandkids. But we just put up our stockings. The only thing is, we girls had those long, brown, ugly stockings, but you could get a lot in them. And we always got an orange and an apple and some nuts and stuff like that. And it was really, well, it was really nice to get fresh fruit because you didn't get fresh fruit all the time.
Yeah.
But now they have those fancy stockings, and of course, a lot of them have their names on them and sequins, and it's nice. It's nice, but it's just different than when I was little, you know.
Yeah.
But we had just as much fun.
I believe it.
Yeah. But I have to tell you, when I was married, Donald was gone, and the next day was Christmas, and he had never missed being Christmas, being home. And I thought, oh my goodness, you know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and he's still not home, because he was a professional driver. Well, anyhow, he came in right after that. Well, on Christmas Eve, we had chip and dip and eggnog and a fire. So there was a lot of ashes in the fireplace. And Donald wore boots, and he went and made a big impression of a boot. And then he came and got in bed. Boy, a few minutes later, our oldest son, Mama, 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 the Santa Claus was here and he left a big impression of his boot. So we always kind of laughed about that.
Yeah.
But that was something that happened. That was kind of a fun thing for the kids.
That is fun.
Tom was, I don't know, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. How fun
something
is that?
So it was pretty fun. His eyes were as big. Oh, he was just so excited that Santa Claus had left his boot print in the fireplace.
Well, that's a fun story. Did your parents have any traditions that they used to do that you still do, or maybe that you stopped doing?
Well, we always did the Christmas story.
Mm-hmm.
And then we always went to church. In our church that I belonged to then, they had the poor box.
Mm-hmm.
And we always, my dad, no matter if we had a lot or if we had a little, he always took care of the poor box.
Mm-hmm.
And in those days, a lot of people didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he was always involved with going around to widows or whatever and taking things. Mostly what they took were like homemade bread and strudel and fruit. You didn't really take a gift from the store.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my mother used to make 5 loaves at a time, and then she'd take them around. But, when you don't have a lot, a loaf of homemade bread looks pretty good.
I would think so. Well, not now, because it's not gluten-free. But to somebody that is really hungry, I'm sure it was very welcome to have that.
My mother was never a candy maker.
Mm-hmm.
She did make peanut brittle, I think, but she never was a candy maker.
Uh-huh.
But after I married Donald, Aunt Ethel, his aunt, she was a past master professional candy maker.
I remember that. She was. Yeah.
And she used to give candy to the families, and it was delicious. You went to her house, she had candy all over. Every flat place had parchment.
Yep.
And then the candy on top of it, but she was really good about making homemade candy.
She did, and they looked professional too. We used to save, anytime anybody got a box of candy, we would save the box and the little papers.
Yeah.
And we'd give them to Aunt Ethel, and then she would make her own candy and put them in there.
Yeah.
And then when people would come over and they'd look in the fridge and they say, where'd this candy come from? Well, Aunt Ethel made it, but it looked professional.
She used to make the little whirligig on top.
Yep. And that one time we went to visit her, and she was in the middle, and she said, I can't stop.
Yeah.
Because the chocolate was just right for dipping.
Yeah, she was very, very professional. She had it down pat, Well, anybody who cooks knows there's a time for whipping cream or chocolate or fudge. My mother used to make fudge all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really good. But in those days, the fudge was a little more sugary.
Yeah.
And then they improved it a lot. But my mother always made fudge. That was the one thing she did do, candy-wise.
What was her recipe? Do you remember?
No, she just had it on the chocolate bar, that you bought.
Yeah.
The block.
Yeah.
And then I think she had a double boiler, so it wouldn't burn, of course. And then she'd put it out, and she'd say, no, it's not softball. It had to be softball before it would be right. And then, but we'd eat the other. We'd say, can we eat it? Yeah, you can eat it. So, and we moved one time on Christmas Eve. And so we moved into this new home. It was very nice.
Which home was it?
On Rainbow Drive.
On Christmas Eve you moved in there.
Yep, and we had the tree on top. So we unpacked, and my dearly beloved husband, he said, well, the first thing I'm going to do is put the beds up so we can all go get a good night's sleep and hook up the stove so we can have breakfast. And so I turned around and I said to him, I said, the first thing we're going to do is put the tree up. And he said, you've got to be kidding. So we put the tree up, and I had all the cards that we had gotten in the mail. And there was a fireplace, so I had it all decorated. And then I got out the manger, and my living room, I must admit, looked like I had been there 6 months, and everything was Christmas. All the decorations, the wreaths, everything. However, the beds were not together. And my poor husband, he says, what's more important? I said, are you kidding? So anyhow, that's fun things that happen when you're growing up and you got family and stuff like that.
I can't imagine moving on Christmas Eve.
I can't either. Some of the things we did when we were young, I'd never do them again. But that's okay.
Once was enough.
Yeah.
What did you used to serve for Christmas dinner?
Well, we usually had ham and potatoes and vegetables and fruit, things like that. We didn't have ham a lot because it was expensive, but we always had ham at Easter and Christmas and, you know, a few other times during the year we would have that. And then the rest of the time we had 100 different ways to make a casserole out of a pound of hamburger.
Yep.
So...
And we still use some of those today.
Oh, yes. That's for sure.
You want to try one of our little treats here?
Oh, yeah. I was hoping she'd get around to
There, I've
that.
got a little half of one for both of us, but you can have a whole one if you want.
Oh, that is so good. And that is so different than just, you know, sweet stuff.
What do you think about the cream cheese frosting?
It's good.
It is good. Do you want another one?
You had to ask.
I did. Take your pick.
We gotta save some,
Yes.
or we'll be in the doghouse.
That's right. We got to save these and share with everybody else.
These are homemade treats that you just don't get nowadays. You know, the ones they make commercially are beautiful and they look real cute and decorated and all, but it's kind of fun to just get something kind of homemade.
I think so too. And they don't look like anything fancy at all, but it's one of my favorites too. Tell me about your Christmas apron.
Yeah, this was my mommy's.
It was? Oh, I didn't know it was hers.
Yeah, she used it, and she liked it because it was, what do you call it? You could turn it over.
Oh, double-sided?
Yeah. So she would wear it like this
Yeah.
for Christmas and then New Year's. it would just be the holly.
Mm-hmm.
Mama took very good care of everything she had.
Well, and you do too, because you still have it, and it looks
Yeah.
really good.
These are delicious.
They are delicious. Do you need one with more frosting?
No.
Here, I'm going to fill up the ones that we've eaten here. Did you always make these with walnuts, or did you use other nuts?
No, I only remember walnuts. But it could be that when they were real expensive, Mama might have used something else. But I remember walnuts. That's what I always use.
They're really good with the walnuts. So here, look, we can have another little half of one. Am I forcing you to have a sweet treat?
It's a good thing I'm not here every day. I'd be gaining 10 pounds.
What's your most favorite Christmas gift you ever got?
When I was very young, I got a Shirley Temple doll.
Mm-hmm.
And it wept all by itself.
Wow.
And I thought that was wonderful. My mother eventually thought that was enough. And then my sisters both got books, but I got a little doll.
Uh-huh.
And that was pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
Is this me?
Yep, that's you. Here, and I'll have the other half of it.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
They're very good. I keep telling her, you gotta take all the calories out of all this good food you make. Otherwise, I'm not gonna be able to get through the door.
Done. They're gone. I didn't bring any calories with me today.
Oh, that's good.
Tell your very shocking experience.
Well, when I was a boy, I lived in Idaho, and my mother was a native of Utah. And we used to go from Idaho down to Utah and visit every now and again. And this one particular trip happened on Christmas Eve. We left Idaho Falls, Idaho, my mother and my dad and I. And we drove to Salt Lake City, where she had a sister living. And of course, she was my Aunt Ethel. And she was a special one in the family.
7 boys.
Yes, 7 boys, and they were all boys. In fact, one that was a year older than me used to beat up on me once in a while, just
Really?
to keep me minding my P's and Q's, I guess.
I didn't know that.
Well, I don't tell that to everybody, because they might think I want people to feel sorry for me, but I loved my cousin. Anyway, this one Christmas Eve, we had driven, started late in the day, and we drove to Salt Lake City and stopped at my Aunt Ethel's house. When we went in, these 7 boys were just having a riotous time because it was Christmas Eve, and they were counting all of the all of the playthings that they had seen and were opening, and I looked at all of that, and I thought, well, what's going on? Santa Claus has already been to this house.
Uh-oh.
And how am I going to catch up with Santa Claus? So it was a very frightening experience for a boy my age, and so my dad says, well, he said, we visited here, we need to get on down to Provo, Utah, because that's where another one of my mother's sisters lived. And
Grandma and Grandpa Jensen.
pardon me?
Grandma and Grandpa Jensen.
Oh yeah, well, anyway, I thought, well, you know, why should I worry about it? I'm not going to be able to change things. Santa Claus has already come and gone. So, as it turned out, we got to Provo, and that's where we spent the night there on that particular occasion. and I was so worried. And you know, and of course, my parents and uncles and aunts and so, well, don't worry about Santa Claus. He always takes care of the kids. And I wasn't too well convinced, you know. Anyway, you know, it was getting late, and people were getting ready to go to bed. And anyway, so I didn't have any choice but to join the crowd and go to bed. The next morning, I found out that Santa Claus had found me.
He found you.
He had found me.
All the way in Provo.
Yeah, all the way from Provo, and I was really an Idaho boy. I mean, I was a long way off track, you know, and I just knew that Santa Claus was going to be so busy he wouldn't have time to look for me, but he did.
He did. He found you. You must have been a good boy that year.
Yeah, well,
All right. Is there anything else you want to say to everybody for Christmas?
I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, a healthy New Year, and I'm so glad that you enjoy my granddaughter and she enjoys you. It's been a wonderful experience for her. I think she does wonderful, and everything she makes is awesome. But what can I say? I'm her grandma.
That you might have a little influence there to say that. I think if I made you the worst dinner ever, you'd say it was good.
Yep. Just like the rest of you out there. You're all grandmas and you all know what I'm talking about.
Well, thank you for letting me film in your kitchen and sharing your stories with me, and it's been so much fun.
Every day is fun with Jill.
It is. We always have fun together.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, here comes a taste tester.
what happened to all the treats?
They're over here. Come and get one.
Now, you probably aren't going to like these, so only take one.
Oh, they're really nice treats.
Come
Yes.
closer.
Yes.
And come closer.
You think he's going to believe that? I don't.
What? What?
I told you to only take one because I don't want him to eat them all. They're so good.
Yeah, let me see now.
Yep. Which one's it gonna be? You can have more than one.
Good. How about this? This looks like a lonely one over here.
Okay, you'll give it a good home.
Whoever heard of a lonely date?
How many years married? We were trying to 65?
60-something.
I think 65. What year did you get married? 57?
57, yeah.
1957. Does it feel like it's been 65 years of marriage?
Some days yes, some days no. And you know what I'm talking about.
Well, she was just a wonderful thing to come along and turn my life into a happier life.
He always talks that way before dinner. Make sure he gets dinner. That's okay. I love him.
And I love you.
Turn it into an X-rated show here. All right, Grandpa, what'd you think of the dates?
Oh, delicious.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like them.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really good.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
Remember I used to make them?
Oh, yeah, I remember you used to do a lot of things. That you always thought of things nice to do.
Yeah.
Except whenever you told me I needed to go out and bring the mail in.
Oh, boy.
That's right.
Now we're going to hear about it.
That's a rough job, bringing the mail in.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you, my dear.
And I love you, darling, and I love the dates. They're good.
They're great. Well, I've only had one sample.
Well, you'd better eat another one then.
Well, you better have another one before you start crying.
Oh, dear. See what I had to put up with?
Yep, I do.
Yeah.
Just after you profess your love to each other.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I hope everyone is having a wonderful holiday season. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Did you say goodbye?
Bye, bye, everybody. A wonderful, wonderful holiday that we have together.
That's right. Should we take a picture?
Why don't we?